Hey kids, welcome back to chapter 5 of your Digital SAT Reading Foundations course. We've covered 4 question types up to this point. Today we're going to jump into some of the less commonly known reading comprehension style questions, starting off with supporting and undermining question types. Okay, so we'll talk about what these kind of mean or how to work through these questions, of course, in more detail. But just wanted to let you guys know that so this type of question, it can get a little bit tricky, right? Just because most of you guys haven't encountered these types of questions before. Okay, but I just want to assure you that if you know what you're looking for, if you know what these questions test, and if you know how to systematically and methodically work through these questions, you can train yourselves to become amazing at these questions, okay? So let's jump into these by first just showing you guys, right, what the sort of wording of the question stem looks like, right? So you're going to have 3 subtypes of questions that relate to this category, right? So one of those questions could ask you which finding would most directly support the researcher's hypothesis. So guys, circle the phrase directly support, and next to it write down strengthen, right? Write down strengthen, right? So if something supports the hypothesis, it's going to add strength, right, to the hypothesis. It's going to add strength or validity to a claim. Okay, the other type of question that you might get, right, would say something like, which quotation from this book or this poem or whatever most effectively illustrates the claim. So circle the phrase illustrates, right? Illustrates. So illustrates would mean to kind of show, right? Or I can also put directly relates, right? That's what illustrates would mean, So illustrates would mean that, hey, one of the ways to support a claim or a hypothesis would be to illustrate it, right? But illustrate can also mean, right, that all it does is it directly relates. It shows you what the claim tells you, right? And that's what illustrates would mean precisely, okay? But these two are kind of like in the similar direction. It's not like you're looking for the opposite, right, to disprove a claim, right? These are more so continuing the claim in the same direction, right? Either by supporting it or by showing it, is all. And then lastly, the last type of question you could get is something that says, which finding, if true, would most directly undermine, right? Undermine the writer's claim. So circle the phrase directly undermine. And undermine, next to this, write down weaken, right? Undermines would mean to weaken, right? So it's going to make the claim seem less true, okay? So these are the 3 shades of questions, right? These are the 3 subtypes of questions that you'll get for this category. And we'll talk about each of these and how to work through them. But before we do, we just got to break down this question type, okay? So first of all, the first thing to know is, guys, when these questions appear, right, the passage will always provide some kind of claim or hypothesis. So guys, circle the word claim and hypothesis, okay? So basically, like a claim, so a claim is, you guys, it's an assertion or a statement, right? That a person believes to be true, right? The person who's writing it or saying it believes to be true, right? But there isn't really sufficient evidence, But the way that you can think about the claim, you guys, it's really like the main point that the writer is trying to prove, right? That the writer believes, and an example of a claim would be if I said something like, students should not be allowed to have cell phones, right? Like that's just an assertion that I believe, right? That's based on my belief, right? But whether there's proof of it or not, right? Like maybe there isn't, you know, but maybe that's what I'm going to try to set out to do, right? But my claim would be this. That's what a claim is. A claim is like an assertion, right? Is all. And a hypothesis is, right, like some kind of assumption that you have, right? Some kind of educated guess that you have. It could be based off of your experience or observations, right? But that has yet to be proven, right? So it hasn't been proven definitively yet, right? But it's just some kind of idea that you're throwing out there, So like, for example, a hypothesis could be like, hey, if you study with classical music, right, you will, score better on vocabulary tests. Something like that would be like a hypothesis, And so, these types of questions, right, that ask you to choose an answer that supports, undermines, or illustrates something, right, that something in the passage is always going to be some kind of claim or some kind of hypothesis, right, that the passage presents. Okay, so the way that you want to work through these questions, you guys, right, is you want to work through it in sequence, right? So the first thing, so once you recognize that this question type of, you're being asked this question, right? After you read the text, what you want to do is you want to first identify where the claim and the hypothesis is. So you want to identify that claim and that hypothesis, right? That's really your first step. You got to know what the claim or the hypothesis is, okay? And so even though you read it and you think you know it, it's okay. Like, find it again and read it in isolation. Like, this is the claim, okay? Then once you kind of know what the claim and the hypothesis is, right, then you got to choose the answer choice, right, that, well, the question asks you to do. Right? So if the question asks you to choose the answer that illustrates it, your job is to choose, right, a statement that directly relates or shows the claim, right? Shows what the claim says or tells you. Or it's going to be to choose an answer choice that supports or adds strength to the claim. In other words, it makes the claim more likely to be true, right? Or choosing the answer choice that weakens the claim, right? That makes the claim less likely to be true, right? Kind of disproving it, is all. It weakens it, it undermines it is all, okay? And that's really the sort of breakdown, you guys, yeah? So we'll talk about each of these kind of terms, right? Illustrates, supports, and weakens kind of one by one. So we'll go through like an example of a statement that could illustrate a claim, right? So imagine I had a claim that said something like, the harder you try, the more elusive success can be. Right, so this will be kind of mixed in with your other words from the text, right? But this is what the claim is. You want to identify the claim. The harder you try, the more elusive success can be. Okay, this is what the writer believes, right? Then from there, a statement or an example that would illustrate, right? An illustration of that claim, right, would kind of show the claim, right? It would show what the claim is telling you, right? So if we had an example of like a manager who micromanages, right, every aspect of their team's work. So this part here is the harder this person is trying, right? So the manager who micromanages is the person who's trying really hard, right? Their excessive control can demotivate employees, stifle creativity, and hinder overall productivity, right? So this is going to directly relate to, right, success becoming more elusive, right? Like you're becoming less successful, right? So these would be the words that kind of show, right, what this says or tells you. Can you guys kind of see how it works, right? So if we kind of look at the correct answer, right, for these statements that illustrate the claim, one of the things right off the bat, you guys, that you have to understand is it's going to be directly related. Right, so the way that you want to think about the answer to the question that asks you which choice most effectively illustrates the claim, the first criteria is it has to directly relate to the claim. Right? If it doesn't relate to the claim directly, right, then it's not going to be your correct answer. Right? It's going to be considered off topic. Right? So you have to make sure that you have to make sure that your answer choice, right, directly relates to, right, what the claim is talking about. Okay, that's one characteristic for sure. It might seem obvious though, right? But a lot of wrong answer choices, right, are going to be wrong because of that, right? It's not directly related to the claim at all, right? And secondly, the claim or the correct answer oftentimes uses more specific words, right? Like specific language. Like I said, it kind of like shows you what the claim indicates, right? So the claim indicates this, and we have the showing of it, right? The evidence or the illustration of it with the micromanaging of the team's work, with like the, you know, as being like the showing of this statement, right? Or this indication, right? And that's oftentimes like a sort of characteristic, right, that you'll see, right, of these types, the correct answer for these types of questions, okay? We can go through like an example of like an SAT style question, you guys, yeah, to kind of see this point. Now, the passage says, right, "To You" is an 1856 poem by Walt Whitman. In the poem, Whitman suggests that readers whom he addresses directly have not fully understood themselves, writing, and then you get the blank. Then the question asks you, which quotation from "To You" most effectively illustrates the claim? So remember, step number one, you guys, is what's the claim, right? Identify the claim first, you know, and say it to yourself, right? Make sure that you understand it. Right? Don't just find it, read it, and understand it, like process it, right? So the claim is what? Boom, right? Readers have not fully understood themselves, right? That's what the claim is going to be, right? So processing it, what does this mean, right? If readers don't understand themselves, right, that means that readers aren't sure of who they are, right? They're not sure of who they are, right? Not completely, at least, okay? They have some idea of who they are, but they're not fully sure of who they are, right? Is all. So that's step number one. Then step number two, you guys, is you want to evaluate the answer choices, right? So you can kind of like, you know, read the answer choices, and the first time that you read through them, right, what you want to do is you want to eliminate the answers that are obviously wrong to you. So this is where like you got to be honest with yourself, right? When you're working through each answer choice, right? You can only eliminate ones that you are 1,000% sure are wrong, right? If you're not 100% sure that the answer is wrong, leave it alone. And just because you're confused about what an answer choice says, right, doesn't mean that you should eliminate it. You have to definitely keep those, right? Just because you're confused, right, doesn't mean that the answer choice is wrong, right? You just got to do a better job of understanding it, right? So. But that's the thing, right, is you have to determine, right, which answer choices that you can eliminate for sure, okay? And so you got to be honest with yourself here. You got to be very, very honest with yourself, right? If you're not sure, leave it alone, okay? Because, because we can go, because what we're going to do is this is just the first run through of the questions, right? This is just the first run through of the answer choices, right? And you'll be able to, for the most part, for most of you guys will, when you guys are working through the answer choices the first time through, you guys will be able to like easily and obviously spot maybe like at least one of these answers that are obviously wrong, right? That usually is the case for most of you guys, right? Also, a good portion of students are able to, confidently, right, certainly eliminate, right, two of these. And then there's going to be maybe some trouble between two answers, right? The correct answer and the trap answer. But if you can't eliminate anything because you're not sure about anything, that's okay. We're going to have more work to do, right? But this is just, this is the initial sort of, evaluation of the answer choices, okay? So that's what we'll kind of work on here. Right, so A says, you have not known what you are. You have slumbered upon yourself all your life. Your eyelids have been the same as closed most of the time. Right, so this part here, you have not known what you are, kind of seems like it's the same shade as the claim, right? Readers have not fully understood themselves, right? Kind of seems to like be directly related. Right, so I want to keep this one. In my mind, I'm kind of liking this guy, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to pick it, right? But I'm not going to cross it out for sure. B says, these immense meadows these interminable rivers, you are immense. You are interminable as they. So this kind of adds some certainty, right? Like you are immense, right? If you are immense and if you are interminable as they are, right? This kind of implies, so I would say this is obviously wrong, right? Because this is not directly related. This is completely off topic to the claim that readers do not fully understand themselves, right? This almost seems like, right? Like, well, there's no kind of relationship to that. It doesn't relate at all, right? But when it says that you are immense, it makes it seem like, right? Like the writer is telling the reader, right, what the reader is, right? But what the reader is, right, doesn't mean that the readers don't know themselves, right? So this is where we got to say, hey, it's not going to be directly related at all. Okay, so we got to cross this guy out. What about C? I should have made my way straight to you long ago. I should have blabbed nothing but you. I should have chanted nothing but you. So this just, again, this is basically here, I think this is obviously wrong, right? Like this doesn't directly relate to readers not knowing, not fully understanding themselves. All this statement is saying is that the writer has regrets, right? The writer should have done something but didn't, right? So the writer should have, made this person, right, the focus or the attention in that person, in the writer's life, right? But so the writer, should have done something doesn't directly relate to the reader not fully understanding themselves, right? So this is where like something like C here is also not going to be directly related, and then D, I will leave all and come and make the hymns of you, right? None has understood you, but I understand you. Okay, so this is where like understood and understood, right? So maybe you want to keep this, I'm not sure, right? But you kind of see, maybe it's got something of the similar shade. So maybe we can just why don't we just keep it for now? Otherwise, if we cross it out, we have nothing else to do afterwards, right? So, but anyways, this is that sort of next step, you guys, right? You want to evaluate the answer choices, but this is how you kind of run through them, right? And you might be left with 2 or 3, and that's fine, right? But then the next step then is you want to determine which of the remaining answer choices most directly relates, right? Is the most relevant, right? Relevant means it's directly related, you guys. Yeah, in fact, underline or circle the phrase directly relates. Directly means it doesn't mean kind of, sort of, right? Directly means, right, that it is very clearly, right, related to the thing, okay? Not just tangentially, right, or kind of related, it's directly on topic, is all, right? So it's talking about the same thing, right, in a very direct way, not an indirect way, right, but very directly, okay? And here, so again, with the remaining answer choices, right, you want to basically, you might have to do a little bit of like studying. You might have to evaluate or analyze, right, each statement, right? So whatever answer choices are remaining, right? So this is where like, hey, if you have 2 remaining, great, you have less work to do than if you have 3 or if you have 4 remaining, right? But this is where you do have to spend some time analyzing each statement, right? And what I mean by each statement could be like a statement, the claim, in the reading passage, right? Readers have not fully understood themselves, although we should have done this in step number 1. When we identify the claim, we should take a moment to analyze it, understand what it's really saying, what it's saying more deeply, right? But analyzing a statement could also mean to analyze the remaining answer choices, right? So analyzing what the answer choice A is kind of saying. So analyze would mean to break it down, right? Break it up. So we can break it up into pieces, right, and kind of see if like the information here is directly related to, right, the information in the text, right, the claim. And so a tip that I could give you guys here, right, is try to think about what the statement implies, right? Think about what it implies. So implies would mean like, hey, instead of just like understanding exactly what's being said, think about what it suggests, right? So for example, if readers have not fully understood themselves, what can this imply? Well, this implies that readers do have some understanding of themselves. It's just that they don't have a complete understanding, right? That's one example of what this could imply, right? What we could kind of like imply from this, right? We could also imply, right, that readers don't know who they are, right? They don't know who they are completely, right? That could be another thing too, right? So imply just means like, hey, we're not using the exact same words, right? But the meaning, but the meaning kind of matches up, right? That's what implies means. And so when you kind of think about or analyze the statement and think about what it implies, right? You're understanding the information at a deeper level, right? Because you're actually taking the time to kind of process it in your own words, right? And this is a great way to kind of like do that, right? Is this. So here, if we do this with the answer choice, when we say you have not known what you are, that could imply that you aren't sure about yourself, right? You aren't sure about yourself. If you're not sure about yourself, right, doesn't that kind of directly relate to this, right? If readers have not fully understood themselves, this could imply, right, that they're not certain. There's a sense of uncertainty, right? And so can you guys see how these kind of statements are directly related, right? Is all. You know, and we can do the same thing with other parts of this answer choice, but that's the idea, right? Is instead of looking at this entire thing and saying, hey, do all of these words directly relate to this, we can break it up, right? That's what analyze means, right? So if we take a look at one part of it, right? And remember, guys, if one part of an answer choice is wrong, the entire statement breaks down, right? And that's a great way, right, to kind of work through the remaining answer choices, you know, is all. And so we could do this with other things too, but we don't have to get too analytical. But if you say you have slumbered upon yourself, slumber will mean to sleep, right? So this could imply that you're not awake to yourself, right? So you've fallen asleep to yourself, right? If you're not awake, you're not conscious, right? So if you're not awake, you're not aware, right? And so if you're not awake to yourself, you're not aware of yourself, right? If you're not aware of yourself, right, you don't know who you really are because you're unaware of who you are, right? So that's really where it has a sort of same, it relates really well with this, right? And so we can do the same thing with the other answer choice as well, right? So in this case, we crossed out B and C, and now we left with D, right? But D says, none has understood you. What does that imply? Right, so that means that other people don't understand you. Does that directly relate or match with this claim, right? That readers have not understood themselves. That's like if I'm a reader, I don't know who I am. It doesn't match with saying with this, right? It doesn't match with the statement that, hey, it doesn't matter if other people don't know who I am, right? This claim is saying that, hey, readers don't know who they are, right? They're talking about themselves and knowing themselves, right? And so this here doesn't directly relate. It doesn't match, right? So, and just because so when we say I understand you, right? So if the speaker understands the person he's talking to, that doesn't directly relate or match with readers do not understand themselves, right? So that's another sort of reason we can cross out D, right? And so upon further analysis, right? Upon more analysis of the remaining answer choices, we can definitely choose A, right, as our correct answer because we're able to confidently get rid of D, okay? And so that's really what that, the illustrate part, right, of the question of this category kind of comes from. Now, what about the other ones? So I won't take as much time doing this because we have a lot of practice questions, right, that relate to this, but I'll just tell you guys about, give you guys some information about this that can really help you guys with your understanding, okay? So, guys, when a statement supports a claim, it means that the statement, and when I say the statement here, think about the answer choice. Okay, so it means that the answer choice or the statement provides some kind of evidence, some kind of reasoning, or some kind of justification. It doesn't have to do all of it, it just has to do one of it, right? But it provides something, some kind of evidence that lends credibility, right? If it lends credibility or validity to the claim being made. So the claim is the thing in the reading passage or the text. And if you have a statement, an answer choice that provides evidence that lends credibility, it basically is adding strength to the claim. In other words, what the correct answer will do for these kind of questions that support a claim, right? It will, if this answer choice is true, it will make the claim more likely to be true, right? Because it gives more credibility or validity. It makes the claim more valid. So if we have this answer choice or this statement, right, that has evidence, right, that supports the claim, that just basically means that the claim, right, if this statement is true, it will make the claim, right, more likely, right, to be true, is all, right? And so that's what this in plain English, it's basically saying, right, the statement helps to establish the claim as more believable, more convincing, or more plausible, right? So plausible would mean like it makes, it's believable, right? It's more truthful, is all, more likely to be the case. Right? And so that's really how you can kind of think about it, right? So the answer choice will help to establish the claim as being more believable, right? As being more possible, right? Or more likely to be the case, right? More likely to be true, right? And so that's how you really have to kind of think about it. And this is a sort of breakdown of, these are sort of great definitions of, a claim and a supporting statement, right? So a claim is a statement or an assertion that presents a specific belief, opinion, or argument, right? So think about a claim as like the main point that the writer is trying to make, or that the writer is trying to prove, right? And supporting statements, these will be your answer choices, right? So supporting statements will be a statement, some kind of piece of information, right, that is used to back up or strengthen the claim, right? So it'll help to demonstrate or explain why the claim is true or why the claim is valid, right? So in other words, you guys, in other words, what you have to know is you have to know that like these two things, right, have to be related, right? So they have to be kind of on topic, so they have to be talking about same topics, is all, right? And so I'll give you guys an example of this. So let's say that the claim, if someone makes a claim that regular exercise is important for maintaining good health, right? Some examples of supporting statements. So these would be like correct answers, right? But just giving you guys a sense of supporting statements that'll make this claim, right, more believable, right, or more plausible as the truth, right? So a supporting statement or an answer choice could say something like, studies have shown that people who exercise regularly have lower rates of heart disease, right? So if this were true, right, right, wouldn't this claim seem more believable? Right? So if we actually had evidence, right, that people who exercise regularly don't get as much heart disease, right? If this were true, wouldn't that make this claim more believable? Wouldn't you have an easier time, right, believing me? Right? Wouldn't you be like, yeah, you're right, this is true, right? This is more likely to be true, right? That it's important for maintaining good health because I have evidence now to back that up, right? So can you see how like you have to have topics that will relate to each other, right? Because if I have, so another example would be like exercise helps to improve circulation and boost the immune system, right? So these would be the good health aspects. Right, these would be the good health aspects, right, that the exercise or regular exercise kind of helps to do, right, is important for, okay? So notice how the answers, like the supporting statements, will have to be on topic, right? So you'll also see some wrong answer choices that'll be off topic, right? And so even though they might talk about good health and stuff, right, if you had an answer choice or a statement that said about how, eating healthy foods, right? Maintaining a good diet, right? maintaining a good diet, right, doesn't relate, right? It's not about, so whether you have a good diet or not, it doesn't affect this claim at all. I could eat the cleanest in the world, right? But it wouldn't help to strengthen or make this claim to be more believable, right? Because my claim isn't about eating food, my claim is about exercising, right? As a pathway for good health, right? So any kind of statements that are off topic that talk about, I don't know, social support or mental health therapy, right? Or eating good food, right? All of these things are not, they're not related to the claim, so they can't strengthen or support it, right? So how can you support a claim when the information that's being talked about isn't even directly related to the claim, right? So that's one of the things that you want to be kind of checking for, right? Is all, okay? And so that's like, you know, information that supports a claim, right? And so what about statements that undermine, right? So remember, you guys, undermine, every time you see the word undermine, just think to yourself, weakens, right? If you have information that weakens a claim, it's going to kind of disprove it. It's going to add less credibility to the claim, right? So when a statement undermines a claim, right, it means that the statement, and again, the statement is going to be the answer choice, right? A statement will weaken or contradict the claim, right? So it has to directly relate to the claim, first of all. But the way that it relates to the claim is it's going to affect it by making the claim seem less likely to be true, right? So it's going to make the claim less convincing, right? Is all. You know, so in other words, the statement provides evidence or reasoning that challenges the credibility or validity of the claim being made, right? So whichever of these explanations make it easier for you to understand, right? But it's really important, you guys, you have to understand that a statement that weakens a claim has to, first of all, directly relate to the claim, right? So just because, yeah. So if a statement is unrelated to the claim, there's no way that it can relate to it. There's no way that it can weaken it, right? Because it doesn't affect the claim, right? It's not, so something can affect the claim if it's unrelated to the claim, right? And that's what you have to understand, right? That's what can be a little bit tricky about this type of question, right? Is that. So remember that, right? Is the statement has to affect the claim and the only way that a statement could affect the claim is it has to relate to the claim, right? Is all. And so, again, we talked about what a claim is, right? So information that undermines, a statement that undermines is a statement, it could be like a fact or a piece of evidence or whatever, right? If it's true, it's going to be used to counter or contradict the claim, right? So basically, if this statement is true, it'll make the claim less believable, right, as the truth, okay? So for example, if I have a claim, if I say something like, hey, smoking has no negative impact on health. If I'm like, man, smoking doesn't affect your health at all, right? Some examples of undermining statements or weakening statements, right? But again, these will be your answer choices. Right? A correct answer could say something like, if you had scientific research that consistently showed that smoking is a leading cause of lung cancer, right, and other serious diseases. So this is basically saying, hey, wait a second, smoking is a cause of cancer, right? So smoking can make you sick. Smoking can make you sick. So if you had if this were true, wouldn't that attack this claim? If this were true, if you believed this, wouldn't you believe this to be less likely to be true or less convincing? Absolutely, right? So this is what a statement that undermines does. Another example would be like if I said, hey, public health campaigns have been warning about the dangers of smoking for decades, right? So, right, if you're warning about the dangers, right, this could imply, right, that you, or that smoking does have some kind of negative impact, right, on your health, you know? But yeah, watch. So for these kind of, and this particular type of question, right? The statements that weaken a claim, these could be this is the trickiest question of the bunch, simply because you might have some answer choices that don't. So students kind of confuse, right, the correct answer to weakening claims, right, with like any kind of answer choice that doesn't relate to the claim, right? So, and you guys have to understand this, is just because an answer choice, or understand it like this, in order for an answer choice to weaken a claim, it has to like directly impact the claim, right? So this statement has to have a direct effect on the believability of this, right? So if this statement does not have a direct impact on the believability or the validity of this claim, then that can't be the correct answer, right? So no matter how much they're showing you how health can be affected, if the topic's not talking about health. So again, smoking, I mean. So if this is basically saying that, I don't know, eating fried foods, right? You're smoking barbecue, right? Eating smoked food like salmon and charred barbecue, right? Could cause heart attacks, right? Like you can't choose that as your answer because it doesn't directly relate to, right, smoking and the impact on health. It talks about another topic, right, which is the effect of smoked food on health. Okay, so it's really important to kind of understand, right? The correct answers will, one, directly relate to the claim, right? And then two, it'll either illustrate, strengthen, or weaken. Okay, and that's really what you should know, right, about that. So guys, this takes care of the foundational knowledge piece, right? Take a few minutes and really review what you learned, right? Ask yourself, hey, what's one important thing that I learned, right, that can help me out on my journey, right? That can be helpful for me to know. And I'll see you guys in the next lesson when we talk about the explanations to these questions. Take care, you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.